My annotated bibliography and case studies were all on homosexual youth and the difficulties of coming out for homosexual youth or for homosexuals in general. One of my closest friends is actually homosexual, so throughout high school and before that even, I've watched him get bullied and just go through so much that no one else that I know that's heterosexual really went through. So I basically chose this because I wanted to spread the word for him and for anyone else who ever has to go through that or had to go through that. All of the interviews that I conducted were all in the Metro Detroit area, mostly Oakland and Macomb County, and they were all males from the age of 16 to 20. The only problem I really had with finding people to interview was coming off completely unoffensive. I didn't want to walk up to people like, hey, are you gay? Can I interview you? I wanted to get to know a little bit about them first and then tell them about my project and tell them I wanted to spread the word. Not so much just that I wanted to know about them. So that was the only difficulty I had, but once I found the people to interview, it was really inspirational and really worthwhile. While I was doing my annotated bibliography, I found one statistic that really bothered me, and it is that until 1973, homosexuality was listed in the American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. This completely showed me how ignorant people are because there is no common symptom of homosexuality. Every homosexual is very different. Some of them might be have way more preferences in common with you than they do with the next homosexual that they'll meet. They're individuals. They're not something that can be categorized into a group. They're not easily defined. So homosexuals and heterosexuals actually have a lot in common. The only things that differentiate our preferences, like I said, that you and me have as well, such as the kind of music we listen to, the kind of foods we eat, etc. So I'm going to go over to my interviews so that we can get a little bit more insight as to homosexuals specifically and see how that turns out. One of the first interviews that I conducted was with a man named Alex Culver. He's 19. He went to Fraser High School, which is in Fraser, Michigan. He still lives where he used to, and he actually attends Oakland University right now. Things that interested me about him is that he has known that he was homosexual his whole life. His parents actually knew before he did. He had always hung out with neighborhood girls. He had always had girlish mannerisms. And he actually kissed a neighborhood boy at age 4, kind of like those kindergarten kissing stories that you hear. Very cute. He already knew that he wanted to kiss a boy and not a little girl at 4, so I thought that was really interesting. His best friend in high school actually ended up falling in love with him, and when he told her that he was homosexual, and that was the reason that, he could never love her in that way, she ended up getting really mad and telling the whole school. People started walking up to him like, hey, are you gay? And he was like, yeah, no, what? Like, very confused, and he said that he was like, yeah, like, off the top of his head, but then he was like, wait, I didn't tell anyone that. Who'd you hear that from? And every single one of them said her, so I just thought that was so insensitive, especially for someone who's supposed to be his best friend. Most people that I interviewed actually knew at around age 8 or 9. At least they knew by puberty when their friends were starting to date people of the opposite sex and they weren't attracted to them. But most of the people that I interviewed, they actually came out at age 17 to 19. That's almost 10 years of holding that in. I really think that would be difficult to embrace who you are and find out exactly what you love to do and everything like that if you're holding in such a huge part of you. I just thought that was really sad. And Another statistic that I found is that most of them feel much more discriminated by males, and most of them have been in some sort of altercation, whether it be like verbal or physical. One of the people that I interviewed, named Jake Dior, was actually jumped 3 times at his bus stop. He was pushed into lockers. He was asked by men to go to prom with him that were straight. They would ask him in front of a group of people, and it happened to him several times his senior year. People would point at him and laugh, and he said that he actually contemplated suicide a few times, which is really awful to hear, just because of the people around him, the way that they were treating him. Another person that I interviewed, named Tom Logson, he's also from Fraser High School. Him and Alex were in different grades, and they actually didn't know each other very well. They knew of each other, but didn't know much about each other, so that was interesting to find out. Tom was a cheerleader in high school, so he really had it pretty bad. He got physically beat up, and he was verbally abused often. He told me that, the guys in his school just wanted to see girls jumping around in short skirts. They didn't want to see real tumbling or cheerleading stunts, because he actually is amazing. He went to the last Olympics. He actually traveled with them, and he told me a lot about it. That's awesome. And he still wasn't put on the varsity cheer team at his school, and that seems really wrong to me. So, thought that was interesting. What I found out from my interviews is that most homosexuals actually have their first serious relationship, way later than most heterosexuals. They often have less relationships up to date than heterosexuals that I've asked, just for some data. A huge statistic about gay people is that they think every guy they see is attractive. The statistic that I actually found from my interviews actually proves that dead wrong, so that's interesting as well. Alan Hamill, I interviewed him, and he had actually denied himself being homosexual for the first year. He dated girls and tried to not let himself embrace his sexuality because of society's perception. Eventually, he realized that it wasn't working and that he needed to make himself happy above anyone else. So he is now completely homosexual. He does not consider himself bisexual, even though he has had experiences with both sexes, which is common. When homosexuals first come out, they might question their sexuality or actually try to conceal it. So, something that Jake Dior wanted me to say before my speech was over is that he thinks that anyone who feels low, discriminated against, or disgusting for being who they are should be told that they are beautiful. They should be told that they are not less because their family, church, or society in general tells them that they are nothing. Homosexuals are beautiful creatures, and it's time that the world recognizes that. What he's trying to say is that homosexuals bring just as much to society as any heterosexual does. They work just as many hours, they grocery shop at the same places, so why don't they deserve to be smiled at? Why don't they deserve to be respected? He told me that he holds no hard feelings against anyone because he feels that people truly don't understand. He feels that people are uneducated and that the topic is simply brushed aside in schools and in churches, and it's not brought up. He feels that he's seen teachers completely close their eyes to bullying of homosexuals, which is wrong. And I thought that that was an awesome insight and an awesome outlook for someone who's been abused by the same people that he is still trying to forgive and trying to spread the word to.